All right. But anyway, this is going to end well. I promise, folks. I'm going to get positive here before it's over with, but it's going to be a slog for a second. They started out with one of my favorite talents in the company, Damian Priest, defending the North American title against one of my least favorite people in the company, Johnny Sameface. And I wrote down new viewer. Why is this badass fighting this little teenage kid? I'm sorry. And besides the distraction from the lights and the now we've got to look at the virtual fans also and the crowd noise and everything that I was getting used to. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, when Damian Priest is a top guy on Raw or SmackDown, there's going to be footage of him getting the shit kicked out of him by this tiny little eggplant. When did Razor Ramon go 20 minutes on pay-per-view with Barry Horowitz? Because that's exactly the situation here. You got a bigger, badder looking, better worker with a top guy size, top guy promo, top guy gimmick. And you have, all apologies to Barry, actually, and the thing is, in this case, Barry is probably at least 30 pounds heavier and 4 or 5 inches taller than Johnny Sameface, but against a guy who's a very good technical worker and has no other outstanding characteristic whatsoever. He can't talk. Him and his wife, but his wife is more boring now than she was before just because they're together. He's got that charisma vacuum going where he sucks charisma from those around him. Johnny Sameface, bland, boring, small, tiny, white guy that executes all the moves. I love Damian Priest. I couldn't believe he went 20 minutes and got his ass kicked by wrestling's blandest man. And somebody on Twitter said, wait till Jim Cornette sees that power bomb on the apron. He's really going to get hot. Remember when Damian Priest gave him the Razor's Edge / power bomb on the apron? That was the safest apron bump I've seen anybody take in like months since they've all been doing this. Because he picked him up and he tossed him and he set him down flat. And he didn't take the bump along with it. He was in control, standing on his feet the whole time. If you got to do it, that's the one to do, but it's still stupid. But hey, even Damian Priest did that big cannonball over the top and wiped out the 2 security guards that just happened to be standing there. Why do they need security guards when they have no fans? Have we answered that question?
Well, they have a few fans, but the fans
those
are behind,
aren't fans.
They're behind the chain link fence, which is in front of a plexiglass.
Yeah, which is in front of a plexiglass wall. So goddamn. I used to go into places in Mid-South where there was 12,000 people in the Sam Houston Coliseum that wanted to fucking gut me with a rusty fishing knife, and the only thing in between me and them was 4 Houston cops and a fucking clothesline. And they've got anyway. And Gargano then hit a nut shot and a super kick. But finally, Damian Priest finally hit a fucking finish on this guy 1, 2, 3. It was an okay match. Johnny Gargano shouldn't have been having it. It should have been Damian Priest against another top guy if it was going 20 minutes. I know they consider Gargano a top guy. I just don't know why. But if it's going to go 20 minutes, they could have put him against another main event guy, or he could have got a little bit quicker win, or what the fuck. That's what I thought about this match. Your thoughts?
I thought it was all right. I'm not a big Gargano fan. Damian Priest, not only do I like the guy, but I thought this was the one point where the Capitol Wrestling Center worked, because seeing him in that setting, I was able to envision him more on the main roster than in the dingy, dark NXT show. And you realize just how big and his presence, you realize how big he is and how much presence he has. It pointed out, it made it quite obvious how small Gargano is next to him. It was ridiculous. I didn't realize he was 6'7". For whatever reason, we've been watching him all these weeks. If they've said it, it's gone over my head. He's 6'7". He's fighting a guy a foot smaller.
In the old days, they would have been saying that every 13 seconds, and it would have been in his ring introduction. At 6'7", 200 and whatever pounds, But now they don't bother to mention it, that he's actually a full-grown, overgrown adult man.
Every match doesn't need near falls. I'm just going to put that here, but
bless you.
I'm going to put that here, but it goes across the entire business by this point in time. That's it. Those are my thoughts.
Oh, yeah. Every match has got to have the near falls. We've talked about tag team matches. Some of the greatest tag team matches ever had like 2 near falls. Once that the babyface would get the hot tag and make a comeback, 1, maybe 2, and then the other heel would make a save, and then you got the 4-way and you go while the getting's good. Anyway.
When any of these guys work over their matches in the back, not even focusing necessarily on Damian Priest and Gargano, when any of them are talking over their match, as we know they do, in the back, and they say, okay, then you hit a 450 splash on me, and I'm going to kick out. Does the other guy ever stop and go, no, you're not? Why would you do that?
They used to.
They just go, oh, that's a great idea, and then I'll kick out of your frog splash, and then you hit me with a chair, I'll kick out of that, and then I'll throw you through a table, you kick out of that. Does that sound good? Yeah, let's do that.
Well, and that's because that sounds good to them because nobody's ever sat them down and slapped them around a bit and said, no, don't do that. But here is another reason why that the talking over of matches is bad in concept, because remember how guys never used to kick out of big finish, another guy's big finish? The reason for that was because when matches were called in the ring, instead of 5 hours beforehand, sat down and talked over ad nauseum in the back, when they were just, you got to finish, you went to the ring and called it from there. Can you imagine any top fucking main event guy, Jerry Lawler, telling Ken Patera when he came in from the AWA, okay, I'm gonna fucking pick you up and superplex you off the top rope. And Patera would have said, no, you're not. And that would have been the end of the goddamn discussion. Or kicking out of the finishes or whatever. You had literally seconds to call something. And if the other guy said nope, you couldn't just sit down and goddamn litigate it. They sit in the back for 30 minutes now discussing who's going to fucking get a 2 count or a 2.5 count or whatever on this move or that move. You had seconds. If the other guy wasn't going to do it, you went on. So now that they've got all this time to go over everything ahead of time, they kick out of everything. And then there are no finishes. Every once in a while, you will hear the announcers these days saying, well, nobody ever kicks out of the so-and-so. And it's generally when somebody just kicked out of the so-and-so. Anyway,